Thinking about buying a home in 2025 with high interest rates, rising insurance costs, and increasing uncertainty about the marketplace, does it actually make more sense to rent right now? If you're new here, my name is David and I make videos about living in Omaha, and I'm also a real estate agent. And with that, let's explore when it makes sense to rent and when buying might be a smarter move in 2025. First, let's bust the myth. Renting is throwing money away. Let's be honest, I used to believe this. It's simply not true. In some situations, it makes more sense to rent. Rent gives you shelter, stability, and flexibility. And that's real value. You're not wasting money just because you're not building equity. One nice thing about renting that often gets overlooked: when you rent, the maximum amount you pay for housing every month is your rent payment. When you buy, the minimum amount you pay for housing each month is your monthly payment. When you rent, you cap the amount you pay for housing each month. Many buyers go from renting to buying and forget to account for the cost of maintaining a home. It takes money to maintain a home. In the past few years, many buyers had to waive the inspection just to get their offer accepted. Now, many of those buyers have big-time buyer's remorse because now they've purchased a home and they're faced with the cost to maintain a home that is in need of repair. In terms of maintenance, as a general rule of thumb, for newer homes, you're looking at about 1% of the purchase price for the cost to maintain a home. And for older homes, and this is 20 years or older, you're looking at about 2 to 4% or more annually for maintenance. For example, let's say a home is valued at $300,000. The annual maintenance estimate using the 1% rule, you're looking at about $3,000 per year. And for an older home, you're looking for about 3%, which would be $9,000 a year. Speaking of value, if you do own a home and you're interested in getting a monthly valuation on your property, I do have a link in the description for a program called HomeBot. It's free and there's no obligation, and it's a nice way to track the value of your home over time. Here's something else. What many people don't understand about a mortgage: interest on a mortgage is front-loaded. That means your first few years of a 30-year loan, the vast majority of your principal and interest payment goes towards interest. Your monthly payment consists of PITI, which means principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. If you purchased a home with less than 20% down payment, you can add mortgage insurance into the mix. A 30-year fixed rate mortgage is also a little misleading. Your interest is fixed, but your payment can still increase. Your insurance can go up and your taxes can go up. In Nebraska, we have very affordable home prices, but our taxes and insurance rates are well above the national average. Make sure you plan for future increases in your monthly payment just because of taxes and insurance. When you buy a home, you have to understand the financial side of the equation. For example, when you build a home, your first year of home ownership, you're only paying taxes on the lot. The following year, the home is going to be reassessed by the county, meaning your taxes are going to go up just because the assessor is now going to tax you for the lot and the improvement. And I'm shocked that many people are not aware of this. Let's take a look at a 30-year loan. For example, we're looking at just the loan amount. Loan amount of $300,000 at a 6.5% interest rate for 30 years. Your monthly payment, just principal and interest, would be $1,896.20 a month. 12 months later, how much of that payment went to principal and how much went to interest? So if we purchased it in June of 2025, in June of 2026, only $3,353 was applied to principal and over $19,401 went to interest. So after 1 year on a $300,000 loan, we would have a loan balance of $296,647. I don't think many people understand this. I think they fall for the line, well, when you buy a home, you're building equity. Well, that is true. But those first couple of years, most of your payment is going toward interest. Now, as time goes by, as you make more payments, it changes. In the last few years of your mortgage, more goes towards principal. And you can also see that we had a loan amount of $300,000. The total amount of interest paid was $382,633. The total cost to borrow that money was a total of $682,633. And our payment, if we're getting a 30-year loan, if we started it in June of 2025, the payoff date would be June of 2055. I'm a big fan of paying a little extra every month to pay down your principal. Your monthly payment is $1,896.20 a month. Well, if you take that divided by 12, that comes out to be $158. But let's go ahead and round up to $160. Let's say you paid an additional $160 a month and applied that to the principal. How much would that affect and how much would you save in terms of the total cost of the loan? Instead of 30 years of payments, you would now pay off your home about 6 years earlier. Again, if you don't max out your purchase price, you'll have more breathing room when it comes to your monthly mortgage payment. When you get pre-approved, your lender, when they look at your income, assets, and liabilities, they're going to give you a maximum pre-approval amount. This is going to be a harsh truth, but many agents and lenders don't care about your budget. Nobody cares about your budget more than you do. Make sure you're comfortable with the monthly payment. Just because you're approved for a $400,000 home doesn't mean you should buy a $400,000 home. About a year ago, I got some clients who called off the channel and they spoke with a lender who pre-approved them for $250,000, and they were pre-approved for $250,000. And they were going to get down payment assistance, and they needed seller concessions for closing costs. Now, that's great, but here's the problem. They had zero funds set aside left in an emergency fund. Now, when you're looking at a $250,000 home in Omaha, those homes are going to be older, and the condition is going to be an issue. You need funds set aside and saved back for maintenance. Those are going to be homes with problems and with issues. Now, if you buy a home and you have zero funds set aside, a new home is going to be a curse and not a blessing. Now, the lender is going to require you to have some funds set aside in reserve, but that doesn't mean that's actually going to be enough. You need to have enough funds set back for an emergency. Now, at the time, I just suggested that they rent for another year and get a little bit more money saved back before they made a purchase. Now, I've been doing this for 23 years, and I've seen buyers max out their purchase price, and they're under so much financial stress that eventually it leads to a divorce. And then you're in a situation where at that point, you're forced to sell. Let's say you do get divorced. Don't run out and go buy a new home with a new boyfriend or girlfriend. That has all the ingredients of the bad decision. If you're just coming off a divorce, I would rent for at least a year before you make a huge financial commitment with someone new. If this person is going to be the person you plan on spending the rest of your life with, it's not going to hurt to rent for a year. You don't have to be in a big rush and go out and buy a home with this person. But hey, this is America. It's perfectly legal to make bad decisions. And I've seen this one too. Let's say you own a home, and let's say you meet someone new, and let's say you decide to move in together. I wouldn't be in a big hurry to sell your current home. What happens if you sell your home, then you move in, and then all of a sudden that relationship goes south? Now you don't have a home to move back into. That might be the case where it might make sense to have a vacant home just as a backup plan. And I've seen this happen time and time again in 20 years of doing this. Is there ever a perfect time to buy a home? No. Right along with that, the perfect home doesn't exist either. Don't feel pressure in order to buy a home. Buy a home when it's the right time for you. Let's say you're relocating to Omaha for a job. Renting your first year can be a smart move. And why is that? Well, number one, it gives you time to settle into your new job. It gives you a time to learn the city and the different traffic patterns. You also get the opportunity to explore different neighborhoods. And then it gives you time to decide whether or not you want to go new construction or existing. That kind of local knowledge takes time, and you're not going to learn it all from YouTube, even this channel. Some of this knowledge is only available in person and over time. By renting first, you give yourself options. Do you want to build a home? Many builders have a 9 to 12 month build cycle. Renting gives you time to do that without pressure. For context, in Omaha, you can build a brand new 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a 2-car garage on a quarter-acre lot for starting around $325,000. That's practically unheard of in many parts of the country. In fact, I just helped someone who follows the channel, and they just recently relocated to Omaha, and they were able to build new construction in Northwest Omaha for just under $400,000. They moved here, they rented for a while, then they decided to buy. Let's say you move here, then you decide that you really don't like it here. I've had clients who moved here, purchased a home, then decided to pull the plug and move a year later. Now, a few years ago, they could get by with that because of the market. They were still able to make a profit because of the market. However, if you buy now, and let's say the market cools, or let's say prices flatten out, then if you go to sell 1 or 2 years later, chances are you're going to lose money. Buying isn't always the best choice. Again, time buys you options. Unfortunately, many buyers are not aware of all of their options. For example, not all new construction homes are available on Zillow. In the Omaha market, we have 2 high-volume builders, D.R. Horton and Celebrity Homes. Many buyers shy away from volume builders because they want more options. For example, with D.R. Horton, you don't get many choices, and that's their business model. For some people, that's just fine. Now, D.R. Horton has a really quick turnaround time. It doesn't take long for D.R. Horton to build a property. Obviously, if you're building a home, it's nice to have at least some choices. If you'd prefer to make more selections, then Celebrity might be a better fit. The nice thing about Celebrity, they build homes all across the metro area. They also build enough homes that some of the homes they are being built are built at different stages. For example, you might have a home already at drywall stage. Well, that means your new home will be done in about 60 days. And you're still able to make some selections. If your home is at basement stage, then you get even more choices, and your new home will be done in about 4 to 6 months. About 25 years ago, my wife and I were buying our first home together, and we purchased a used home for $83,000. Now, back then, that was a lot of money. It was a split entry, 3-bed, 2-bath with a 1-car garage built in the 1960s. Now, Celebrity Homes has been building homes in Omaha since 1977. At the time, I think we could have purchased a new Celebrity for around $98,000. I'm not sure on that, but it's about that price. It would have been a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. The home would have been new, and that second bath would have been in the primary bedroom, and the garage would have been a 2-car garage. Now, at that time, I didn't even know, or I didn't even consider new construction as an option. To be honest, I just looked online. Back then, it was all realtor.com. There was no Zillow. Then I would call my agent. And I really didn't even understand the true value of having an agent. I was 30 years old at the time, and I thought I knew more than what I actually knew. There's actually a name for it. It's called the Dunning-Krueger effect. It's where people with low ability or knowledge in a certain area overestimate their competence. In other words, they are too inexperienced or uninformed to recognize how much they don't know. Many people have this in real estate. They don't see the value of having an agent or what an agent actually brings to the table. Same thing applies to YouTube. I started this channel about 5 years ago, and I thought this YouTube thing would be pretty easy. Make some videos, put them on YouTube. How hard could it be? Well, let me tell you, 5 years later, It takes a lot longer, and the longer I do videos, it seems like the less I know. Same thing applies with buying a home. Many buyers are not even aware of what they don't know. They make this gigantic purchase. They don't understand everything that's involved. Then they sign a contract without understanding what is even a part of the contract, or they buy something they can't afford because a lender said they were pre-approved for that amount. And then they wonder why they're in financial hardship. Finally, renting gives you time to figure out exactly where you want to live before committing to a 30-year mortgage. Now, if you found this information helpful, hey, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell so you don't miss any future Omaha content or real estate tips. There are other times where it makes more sense to rent, and let me give you a real life example. About a year ago, I spoke to someone who called off the channel, and they wanted to live in Omaha for about 6 months out of the year, and they were thinking of buying a home in Omaha and then spending the winter in Thailand. Well, that sounds good, but you have to have a plan in place, because having a vacant home in the middle of January in Omaha, Nebraska can be a significant risk. What if the furnace goes out, or what if the thermostat battery dies? Then you're looking at frozen pipes and possibly tens of thousands of dollars worth of damage. Insurance may not even cover if the home is unoccupied for a certain period of time. In a situation like that, it makes sense to either rent an apartment or maybe a condo with a little less maintenance, less risk, and less hassle. And here's another situation where it might make a little more sense to rent. Let's say you're working in Omaha for your job and you're here 15 days out of the month. Buying a home may not make sense, and here's why. Now you're managing 2 households. You're mowing grass in 2 places, you're shoveling snow in 2 places in the winter. Why not rent, or maybe buy a low maintenance condo instead? Bottom line, there is no one size fits all answer. Renting can be the right choice depending on your lifestyle, timeline, and goals. And in some cases, it is the better financial move. If you're relocating to Omaha and you need help making sense of the market, reach out. My contact information is in the description below. I'm always happy to help make the right move. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.